Hello, my name is Margaret and I work at Politics and Prose Bookstore. Welcome to a virtual visit to the bookstore for a presentation from author Carole Lindstrom. She will read and talk from her latest book, We Are Water Protectors. This book is inspired by all Indigenous people fighting for clean water. Carole Lindstrom is a proud member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Ojibwe. She grew up in Nebraska and now lives in Maryland. Please welcome Carole Lindstrom.
Hi, so I'm going to read We Are Water Protectors, written by myself, Carole Lindstrom, and illustrated by Michaela Goade. Water is the first medicine, Nokomis told me. We come from water. It nourished us inside our mother's body as it nourishes us here on Mother Earth. Water is sacred, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. The river's rhythm runs through my veins, runs through my people's veins. My people talk of a black snake that will destroy the land. Spoil the water, poison plants and animals, wreck everything in its path. When my people first spoke of the black snake, they foretold that it wouldn't come for many, many years. Now the black snake is here. Its venom burns the land, courses through the water, making it unfit to drink. Take courage. I must keep the black snake away from my village's water. I must rally my people together to stand for the water, to stand for the land, to stand as one against the black snake. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. It will not be easy. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. The winged ones, the crawling ones. The four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, lakes. The earth. We are all related. Tears like waterfalls stream down. Tracks down my face, tracks down my people's faces. Water has its own spirit, Nokomis told me. Water is alive. Water remembers our ancestors who came before us, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. We are stewards of the earth. Our spirits have not been broken. We are water protectors. We stand. The black snake is in for the fight of its life. At the end of the book is also some information on the water protectors that I've listed, that I've written as well for you to read, so you can learn a little bit more about the water protectors and the fight against the black snake. There's also a glossary and in the back that has some pronunciation guide that can help you pronounce the words. And then the illustrator has also written a lovely note as well that talks about what this book and what the water protectors means to her. And I've also included a water, earth steward, and water protector pledge at the back of the book that I would love to recite with you right now. So I'm going to say it, and I hope that you can say it along with me. I will do my best to honor Mother Earth and all its living beings, including the water and land. I will always remember to treat the earth as I would like to be treated. I will treat the winged ones, the crawling ones, the four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, lakes, the earth with kindness and respect. I pledge to make this world a better place by being a steward of the earth and a protector of the water. And there's a place for you to sign and dates so that you can always remember that you're going to be a protector of the water. Now I'm going to talk a bit about my inspiration for We Are Water Protectors and just a little bit about myself so that you can kind of know a little bit about me. I am Anishinabe, which means original people, and I'm also a citizen of the Turtle Mountain Band of Ojibwe, which in my tribal homelands are in Turtle Mountain, North Dakota. On this slide here that you'll see, you'll see my symbol for my tribal flag. Also below that is me along with my tribal chairman from the Turtle Mountain Ojibwe. Then just a few pictures of me when I was little. And then, of course, my cat, who is also my boss. And now I'm going to talk about why I wrote this book and what made me want to write this story. I guess the reason why I wrote it is because I wrote it really as a love letter to Standing Rock. When the pipeline was going through and all this stuff started, which was was April of 2016, I felt really helpless and I didn't know what to do. And I wondered, how could I help? What can I do? I couldn't go, living so far away. And even though my tribal homelands, and you'll see on the slide here, there is this up in the left-hand corner, top left, shows the pipeline's route. And it starts in North Dakota. And you'll see the Turtle Mountain Reservation. That's my tribal homelands there. And then Standing Rock is south of my tribal homelands, so around Bismarck. So I felt so strongly this need to be there and to help and to do what I could, but I couldn't be there. So I thought, well, I can certainly write a book. I've written a book. I have been writing books for a while. And I felt, well, now is the time to write a story about it so the world can know what's going on. In addition to that, I was sharing on social media, but I felt like I needed to do more. And so I started writing the story as a young adult novel. There was so much information that I needed the world to know. But I felt like a novel was going to take me way too long. So I thought, well, maybe I could do a picture book, because not that it's easier, because picture books are very difficult to write as well. But I felt that I could get it out into the world quicker so that people would know the situation and what's going on with Standing Rock and with the fight from all Indigenous peoples against the extraction industry or, fossil fuels, oil. So this story, again, was inspired by Standing Rock, and Standing Rock is Standing Rock Sioux tribe, which is also the Lakota tribe, which is in North Dakota. And also part of South Dakota, you'll see there. But the pipeline route was going, and the pipeline, as I alluded to, and what Ojibwe prophecy speaks of, is the black snake. Is also known as the black snake because it carries oil. And so this pipeline was proposed, or was going to be going through the Standing Rock Sioux tribe's land, across their burial sites, where their ancestors are buried, and across the water. And we know, the pipelines leak. They leak almost every day. There's leaks. And so a leak in the pipeline means, a leak, people have no clean water, that the animals, the plants, everything is affected by this. So this is why I wrote the story. This slide also shows the land there in North Dakota, of where the cannonball in the Missouri River came together in Fort Yates. That's how beautiful the land is. This next slide is showing when the teepee camp first was erected on the Standing Rock Reservation. So it began just, as really just a grassroots movement, people from the tribe putting up their camp there and just sort of trying to say, this is our land and we don't want you here. This is not appropriate. We know what these pipelines do. So it just became a larger and larger over time, through the summer. Like I said, it started in April, but I first learned of it in June. And then I really was totally immersed in the whole story, because I just felt so strongly that why isn't everybody feeling the same way about water? Why doesn't everybody feel the same way that this is so important? So as you can see in this slide, the Turtle Mountain Ojibwe, that's my tribal flag. It's in the bottom left. So my tribe was also here in Standing Rock. And then I think one thing that the illustrator did, which I think is amazing, is on the front cover of the book, the main character is shown with an eagle feather. An eagle feather is very sacred to Native people, and to show it is a peaceful offering. And basically, that's what we're seeing in these pictures. Is no matter how much maybe force or military or security or whatever was against us, and I mean us by indigenous peoples, we always were peaceful. It was a peaceful camp. We were just there to raise awareness and to just say, stop, please go away. So this again is another slide just showing more of an illustration, but what was happening as the summer progressed. It became more of a military presence. There were more security forces there against the Standing Rock people, as well as the other tribal nations who came. And then also here in Washington, D.C., where I live, there were protests as well. And Bernie Sanders was one of the people who came. And there's a picture of him there because I took my son, and you can see him standing with the No Dakota Access Pipeline, or the No Dapple sign. But we went to the protest as often as we could, just to raise our voice and to let the world know as well, and just be part of it, that we don't stand for this. We know this is wrong, and we will not have this. And then at Standing Rock itself, the winter of 2016, there were over 500 Native Indigenous nations that gathered, which was a very, momentous occasion to stand against the pipeline. And even though it was winter, they still prepared for the camps and still stood against the pipelines and for the water. And then, sadly, around that time in the winter, the pipeline did end up going through, which is a sad thing to say. And even though it was not even finished yet, and the pipeline leaked. So the pipeline was leaking even before it was completed, because they do run oil apparently to the pipeline even before they finish it, and it already was leaking before it was even completed in 2017. So this slide here is showing a teepee camp that came from Standing Rock. They came to Washington, D.C. To set up a teepee camp in March of 2017, and I also went to that. They were here for about 3 or 4 days. And there was a march through the streets in D.C., and you can see the black snake, which says no pipeline on it, which is really meant to illustrate the black snake. So that was another good day to just be in ceremony with Native peoples, and just to be together and stand together as one against the pipeline and against the extraction industry. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about the illustrations and some of the things in the book that you'll notice and you probably have seen. So just so you can have an idea of where some of the illustrations came from. This is a photo that shows myself and Michaela. We were lucky to meet last year. I was so fortunate. She's such a lovely person, and she's so amazingly talented. A lot of the floral designs, floral images you see in the book were inspired by the Ojibwe or my cultural some of the cultural designs in my culture. We are also known as the floral beadwork people. So a lot of these images you see would have been done in beadwork. So Michaela took a lot of those floral images and wove them throughout the story. And this is just a sample of an illustration that Michaela has done. I just wanted to include it here so that you can see just a little bit of her process of how she starts and what she goes through to make these amazing illustrations. She works in watercolor, which I think is an amazing medium to use for a story that is based on water. And then another image that you'll see in the book is the medicine wheel. And then this is something that's important to a lot of tribal nations. The medicine wheel is the representation of the natural world that most things come in fours. The 4 directions, and that's what this medicine wheel is portraying: the north, east, south, and west. The 4 seasons, the 4 stages of life, the 4 states of being, and the 4 sacred medicines, which are cedar, sweetgrass, tobacco, and sage. So I think these are just some little things that the illustrator wanted to sprinkle in because they were important to my tribal nation, but also because, it's important to just educate and to teach about what some of these details and what some of these images mean. So I just want to say, Miigwech, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad I was able to share our book with you, and I hope you like it.
Thank you, Carole, so much for a very informative presentation. One question I wanted to ask so that students could hear about this. After readers make this pledge, what advice would you give them in taking action and making a difference as water protectors?
Well, I think just the most important advice that I could give is just to be mindful. Everywhere you go and everywhere you are, of water, of the land, of the plants, of the trees, of every living thing around you, but especially water because we're talking about that. But being mindful of what are you doing to it? How are you treating it? When you see a lake, or do you throw things in, or do you put pollution, those type of things? Sometimes, and I think for me as a Native person, but I often talk to the water. If we go to the walks all the time out in the nature along with my son, and I stand there and I talk to it. And I really feel that it has a memory. It does. We feel that way as Ojibwe. We are caretakers of the water, the women especially. So, talking to it, I really feel it has a spirit. And I think that it knows. And it's important to respect it. And when you're at home with the water, obviously, things like not leaving the water running, just being mindful of wasting it and the fact that it's not easy to get for some people, and clean water especially is very hard for some Native nations to get, so they have to boil their own water to drink. And so just being careful and always being mindful that it is a gift.
Thank you. And one other thing, would you be able to share with us some of the Native words that you've used in We Are Water Protectors?
Sure.
Thank you.
Some of them are, for instance, I'm going to just say, I'll go back to the glossary page. For instance, to say thank you very much, we say Che Miigwech. And Miniwachoni is Lakota. That's a Lakota word, but that means water is life. So that was something that was often heard during the Standing Rock was Miniwachoni. Niji is friend. So you'll see in here I said that you're Niji, Carole. So that means I'm your friend. So you can say Niji to your friends and call them friend. And that's Ojibwe. And then Nokomis is grandmother in Ojibwe.
That's great. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for asking.
And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it.
You are welcome.